right? That part.
Hey, look, we're all back.
Take two, if you will.
Yeah, don't know
Well,
what happened.
as long as you can't hear me twice, I think the fans will be happy.
Well, take two. So let's try this again as we are counting down numbers 20 to 11 on the.
Yeah, and I don't know where we left off, Corey, with our conversations. I don't know when it said streaming had ended. So,
Corey was talking about the nitty gritty
on Fox, but hey, it is
little behind behind the scenes for the 3-on-1 things like that. This would happen when we would be what is he squeezing? Things like this would happen when we would be recording for the 3-on-1, and me and everybody, what's up, Cam? Me and Rob and Matt would just basically completely recreate the silly, like, oh, and so it would be like this. It would be like, so hey Chris, how you been? Long time no talk. And like we would recreate the exact way that the show was going. It's weird. It's like from an alternate realm.
Hello, Ashmore Media. Which, by the way,
and I hope Jonathan Clark is back in. Go ahead, Dub. My bad.
I'm just saying, please subscribe to SLA Sports, which is Steve Ashmore's Instagram page. Please get his subscriptions up, and please like, share, and tell a friend.
Absolutely.
Tell all your friends about Steve
and your family.
He is here, Corey.
He's Mr. Reliable, that's for sure. It used to be Gallardo, who I think will eventually pop in, but for Jonathan Clark, you put him at the left tackle, right tackle. He's just going to hold you down for the rest of the podcast. So, gentlemen,
and models, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing.
No, with Ashmore, it is.
No, for everyone else is what I'm saying, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so I feel like Ashmore should be at the player haters ball with all the pimps and scallywags based on some of the posts that he puts up. So shout outs to Steve Ashmore.
All right, guys. I'm gonna pause for a second. You guys keep going. I'm gonna try to stream this to other locations.
All right.
And just so Jordan knows, what I was trying to do is, as I saw Dub drop out before we, like I was ended with getting into the nitty gritty. It definitely could be Ashmore. So the way to kind of filibuster the time until we get to the top 20 was kind of just really quick looking back at the 50 through 21 guys, the 30 guys that have already appeared so far. And I was kind of leading in, and then, Chris and I were completely simpatico, even though we were doing show when it was completely off at that point.
Still talking.
No, it was just show. We were just doing show, but good show is just a regular conversation anyway.
Yep. So
Dub, I know Chris's because Chris's is also mine, and then my second guy was also Chris's. So we'll get into that. And Ashmore is jacked in many ways. Never fell in a 40. Never. We won't go back into the annals of those videos. But and guys,
yes, we know, Coach. Thank you, but thank you for the news alert.
Yeah, and Luca too had too many burgers for the Mavs there.
That never stopped Andy Reid.
Andy Reid wasn't on a court, but what me and Chris were talking about was, with the guys that we've already gone over, a lot of great players. Who's one guy that, you are looking forward to seeing what he can do March 16th coming up as he was, between 50 and 21 last year, and kind of where he might end up this time next year, starting in March?
I mean, it's it's kind of hard to put him in this category, but realistically, I really want to see a full 100% Huff. I really do, because I think some of us missed out on that. But I'm also anxious to see how Keno Thomas reacts to being in new settings, being on a new team.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
Can he continue his rise to the ascent of being the upper echelon in our league? Definitely looking forward to seeing that. Definitely seeing if Amatrice Hall can also jump up another echelon and try to become one of the elites and go from the top 50 to perhaps the top 25 and above. Because I definitely like his game. Definitely want to see if Manny Diaz can work on last year and build another repertoire with David Tender and perhaps get the Animals to perhaps that next level to try and contend with the U and BIC. So, I mean, there's a lot of things I'm looking forward to seeing on March 16th for sure.
So, wait. Time out. So, Dub, did you and Corey flip places somewhere? Because Corey was definitely
me and Derek switched.
No. What I'm not talking about on the screen. I'm saying.
Oh yeah, he's going non.
I went East Coast. You went West Coast.
We're not home. No one could accuse either of us at any moment in our careers as being homers.
Well, you try to give love to everybody. You try to spread it around.
I would agree.
I mean the easiest thing I could have said. The easiest thing for me, I could have said, well, let me see what Jaden Webb can do coming up on March 16th, which that would have me sound like a homer. But
yeah, we may or may not have mentioned him in the show that wasn't a show.
Him on the short list.
So for Huff, I actually recently had a very, very brief conversation with him. He seems. How does Virginia look in the A7? From what I've heard of the Heathens from RTU, Virginia will be an interesting team now in the Northeast. Kind of finding your footing as an expansion team is tough. Ask myself and the Omegas. But for Huff, I did have a brief conversation with him. They are actively practicing. One of the guys that I have a close relationship and played a long time with, he's actually likely joining if he does play this year because he has other things going on. He's likely joining Huff and confirmed the U or the Schnoo tribe or whatever we're going to call them. But they're actively working. It is going to be interesting to see Huff hopefully manages to stay healthy all season. I mean, he's an elite athlete, so I'm sure he'll be fine. But, the guys that are my contemporaries, they're not getting any younger. So we'll see about that. And it is interesting that you go from Jersey straight to Ohio and Keno Thomas. That will definitely be interesting because, we talk a lot about how he's out of position playing quarterback and he's just out there making plays regardless. We showed him last week. I don't remember specifically what number off the top of my head, but, he's pretty high. And we showed his receiving ability. We showed that he can complete the passes and his run. So being able to just dedicate himself at the position he's kind of most comfortable with, most familiar with, that will definitely be interesting. And, Jordan and Mr. Clark might correct me if I'm wrong. Being a part of the Crush, that's going to be an interesting thing too. How does he adjust to being on a new team in a new setting? Amatrice Hall, always good. But Chris, you and I talked about it, and I was like, hey, Chris, who's your guy? And my guy, you were the one who said it, right? Yep. So you say it. I'm not going to take it from you twice.
Okay, I'll take the quarterback. You take the receiver.
Fair.
So for me, it was definitely De'Aaron Fox. I want to see what this young man brings for this season. Starting on the 16th, I'm going to be watching him very carefully. I think that he definitely has the arm talent. He has the legs. Now, if he can bring that leadership to the field that I think he can, I think that this young man is going to show up and show out. So we'll see. I'd like to see him further up this list next season.
Yeah, Fox, when you just put on the tape, looks the part, dresses the part, plays the part. He's got the talent, right? I mean, if you put his best plays on film and his abilities or like put him in a combine setting, he might be the guy that people look at as like he's probably the most talented guy in the league. Right? There's a quarterback later on that we might be talking about today that is the exact opposite, right? And if you can mix those two players, and when we get to that player, I'll mention him again. You can mix those two players, the savvy, the ability to draw up offenses, put his team in a position to win, and make those kind of outside of the scheme type of plays. Fox gets a little bit of that. That's what we were talking about, Chris, in because I mentioned also, we both did, Jaden Webb, and so did Dub. Jaden Webb, the wide receiver, corner, returner, again, that force team to me, shout outs to Jeremiah Branch cooking and my guy, Jace. We don't have to rehash that whole thing.
Those wonderful ribs, yes, indeed.
So for me, looking at the guys that we just mentioned, it should get everybody across the nation. Got a Jersey, got an Ohio, got a Vegas guy. Across the nation excited for March 13th. Dub, drop the graphic. Where's Munchie? Mean Muggin.
You mean this one here? Yes, indeed. March 16th. Ace NFL returns with its 11th
Beijing heavy in the beard.
The 11th season of the American Sevens Football League taking place in a region near you. Please check where your region is to where you can catch all this great action. No helmets, no pads, but simple tackle, hard contact football. Can the Insomniacs do the impossible? Can they be the first to three-peat? Can they join the year of the table as the only three-time champions of this league? Well, they will start defense of their title against Cichlid on March the 16th. So,
by the way,
yes,
I just got one question
to
Munch. Why so serious, chum?
Look at me. Look at me.
And by the way, we don't know where if he's on the list upcoming, who's on the list upcoming. We still have some players that are that are possible, and you got to stick around and find out. Got to find out who's going to be number 20 through 11, and then who's going to be 10 through 1, and where are they going to fall? So, bottom line is, everybody who's listening, you don't agree? Hey, I'm right there with you. There's stuff that I didn't agree with, but as we go through the list, come on, man, it's a list made up that we're just trying to figure out exactly where everybody belongs. If Munch isn't on the list, it's invalid. Well, James, you're gonna have to stick around, bro. You're gonna have to see if he makes the list. Does he make the list? Does Kenny Mack make the list? Does Davig make the list? Who else makes the list? That's who we have to find out, right? That's why we're doing this.
Well, I think what's interesting is I think if you go back all the way through, except for 50 through 41,
I believe it. I believe it, Steve.
Except for 50 through 41, had we all know Munch? Yeah, is he? I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, if you don't think that he was already mentioned and that he doesn't belong in the top 20, then you probably would be nervous. But we'll see. We'll see. But listen. I think every week, except for that first week we're doing these, we've had multiple Insomniacs in the list. So, stay tuned if you're an Insomniac yourself, or you're an Insomniacs fan, or you're, whatever, you're a hater of the Insomniacs and you want to, just, make yourself angry. Sometimes people enjoy that. I don't know. That's why people watch us when I'm on a lot of times, I've heard, especially Coach James.
Wait a minute. What was Dark Kent?
Last week.
Last week.
I think Revis was number. I believe he was number 21.
I think you're right.
I think he was number 21. We finished him off last week.
We've got some Insomniac sightings.
Yes, Reeves was at 21. You're correct.
We had Cunningham. We've had Oos.
It's interesting.
Yes.
That's all we're going to say.
We've had Big West. Yes, Cunningham, Big West.
Some of the guys just might not make the list, right?
Yeah, because Oos was on there. Come on, you stick around and find out. That's all we're going to say. Stick around and find out where you are. If you're interested to see if your name's coming up, you got to kind of stick around and find out, see what's going on.
And I don't know if I can do. I don't know if I'm allowed. If I'm no, I'm not. I'm not authorized to do so. But shout outs to Jordan Davidson saying he's not excited to play against the Crush week 1. Javi Grace, Trey Brooks from the Heist. Yep. And then Coach James said, "Who are you playing with?"
I'm taking he's asking that to
Mr.
Jordan.
Hammond.
No.
Cookies.
Nobody cares about me.
Cam.
So were you coming out of retirement, Coach? Were you going to play this year?
You could come out of retirement, or we could do a top 10 coaches list.
I think there might only be 10 good, decent, average coaches. Like Coach James is like, if we did a top 3, top 3 would be in no specific order: Coach James, Ken Stansbury, Ryan Shamar for the U, and Mark Gray for Sick With It, maybe.
I was going to say we got to give Marcus love too. You can't.
No. I give him enough hate. I definitely should give him love. And then Brent Smothers maybe for the Chaos, even though they don't exist anymore, and he couldn't, keep the.
Is he head coach for the new team or just
To be honest, I don't even know if he was the head coach for the Chaos, because they in the offseason last year hired some
defensive coach.
That's true. Look at Coach James. He knows he's media trained. That's for sure. Probably by Ashmore Media to recap all of the commenters so far. And shout out to Clark.
I think Brent is doing defense for the Crush this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think he might have came on one of our previous shows to announce that. So, Brent, if you're listening out there, please confirm or deny if what we're saying is true or not. But I think he is coaching defense for the Crush this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, at least, Coach, your knees are original, right? If your knees were like 4 years old, that means you had 4 years ago you had a knee replacement. So maybe Jonathan Clark says coaching the Crush.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Well, we know that he's coaching. We're just wondering if he's a head coach or if he is a defensive coach.
Are we?
That's
Are we? Are we really? Let's be honest.
Gonna ask.
No. I mean, we walked ourselves into it in the conversation, but he the one that told me I wasn't allowed on the team. Soon enough, Coach, don't be changing out original parts. That's not suggested. Unless you're getting never mind. So we're 17:30 in, guys. We've got a decent amount of comments. Keep them rolling, ladies and gentlemen. There's ladies, right? There's got to be at least one lady. One lady commented last week. So, ladies and gentlemen, for sure, ladies.
There's a lady that listens to the Talking Ish show. I don't know. I'm hoping she's watching this one too.
If there's any ladies, say what's up in the chat. But anyway, so we're 18 in.
Cream already did. Why are you giving him shit? I mean, why are you giving her shit? I mean, why are you giving? I'm lost. Jim, good.
This is the A7FL Top 20 of the 2024 season.
You guys ready?
Let's do this.
I see Chris. All right. Clark,
Chris
go
got,
block for Corey on the Renegades. Little known fact, the Renegades are going with a whole flag team. So I got kicked to the curb by that team. I am actively playing. As of this moment, we're talking about February 5th,
Breaking news.
8:57 p.m. Eastern time. I am still an active player. No, I am not on the Renegades anymore. They got rid of me and a lot of people. Renegades were 0-7.
This is the A7FL Top 20 of the 2024 season. Number 20.
Bump, bump, bump. And as Chris fumbles around the video to find our guy.
It's ready to go. I'm just waiting for you to announce the name, and then we could get into the videos.
So as we put this list together, the top 20, most conversation going in. We had some slides up. We had some slides down. We had some a rearrangement. So kind of the tier from 20 to 11. And the beginning of this tier has two standouts at defensive end that when we looked at it, definitely huge, big-time playmakers this season for their teams. But when we go through the rest of the names on this list, they kind of, to me and Chris, as we were going over this, these two names at 20 and 19 kind of stood out as just a tiny bit beneath 18 up. So
number 20
is probably, and you'd have to fact check me, but since we don't fact check anymore, I'm just going to make shit up. Our president does it. So the sack leader, the all-time sack leader in the A7FL history has to be this guy, just because of the longevity and his production in every single year since he joined the league in 2000 and I believe 11. Guys, that's a really long time ago for the New Jersey Savage. It might have been 2009.
Defensive end, BIC, Olajuwon Ole Bell.
Ole.
And Matt Ryan gets excited. Now, this play you're gonna see from multiple angles. I sent it multiple times. It just, when you're playing defensive end in the A7FL, guys, if you have the body style of a 185 high school wrestler, Ole Bell isn't 6'7". He's not as big as Chris Cunningham. He's probably about 5'10", 205, but he plays with a low center of gravity. He gets to that edge and plays with a ton of leverage. And I don't think anybody has a better jump off the ball. Ask Brian Santisteban on that play than a 15-year A7FL veteran in Ole Bell, Olajuwon. Now, he and his brother, Q Bell, have been mainstays in the Northeast Division. Guys, the guy we're listing at number 20 is probably the best player in the history of our league to never win a championship. And he's played with BIC for the past 2 years. He thought he was going to get one, kind of joining up. But he is our
Number 20.
I think really the one thing that impressed me about him, seeing him live when I was there for the title game in New Jersey, was just his relentless motor.
That's a great way to put it.
He just does not stop. He is always looking to attack the ball carrier or whoever has the ball. Just very impressed with the skill set. Just watching it. I mean, like I've heard a lot of it talking with you and Rob speaking on it on the broadcast, but just seeing it for myself live in person, I was very, very impressed with Ole Bell. Just impressed by his motor. The man does not stop.
Yeah, he's something for sure. I'm trying to send. There's another one, Chris. I'm sending it so it's more recent in the chat, just to show a little bit of that motor. But yeah, so big time playmaker for BIC. Now, BIC had a lot of guys on the defensive line that could make an impact. So finding the statistical, impact of any one of these guys to kind of stand out. But when he's on the edge of a defense, he's one of the best, if not the best pass rusher. But also, even for his smaller stature at defensive end, he's going to set the edge against any running play too. So when you're talking about playmakers at that position, I don't think, especially if you go full career, I don't think there's any better than Ole, just guys that are on the same level. And maybe I should say just
I don't disagree.
But there's the clip that I just sent to the chat, Chris, is a play that he made against OG Buck and the Watchmen, which I don't know specifically which one I resent because there was two of them. But he's the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy. Yeah, he's the kind of guy that when you give him an opportunity to make a play by not getting rid of the ball, he's gonna get you. And for me, like a personal anecdote type of thing, especially when I first started in this league when it was just New Jersey, and we were playing on this this old dirt field. Rob calls it the glass in grass era. It was behind and I know in advance pause, but that's what it's called. It was behind this old Texas Wiener in Union, New Jersey, on this dirt field.
I like the baseball field with the dirt and grass. It took me back to my youth. So
No. Glass in grass.
Grass.
Yeah, we're talking about like just wherever we could play. I mean, he's exaggerating, I think. It's funny when we look back at when we do back in the day when it's me, Rob, or like some of the old players that played back then. We do add a little bit of danger to the game. that ended up being picked up by bigger time sponsors because it was safer. And we talk about how dangerous it is. Matt Ryan. That was even pre Matt Ryan though. So, he's shout outs to Matt Ryan. He is yelling, and on a lot of these clips, he is going to be yelling. So
the last one you sent me is corrupt. I couldn't open it. Just saying.
Right, so I'm the worst anyway. So
Number 20.
Ole Bell. And we start off with a bang.
Ole!
So Chris is going to work through my ability to throw wrenches in the technology. Dub punched his technology in the throat, and right now he's on top of it. But that brings us to the second of this little tier in this bigger tier. It's like Inception. There's a tier inside a tier.
Number 19.
Guys, he happens to be this year's Defensive Player of the Year.
Mr. Negron.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's 2 of the last 3 DPOYs. And maybe if he didn't switch the teams last year, taking the cheddar or the snow, we'll say, from the snow. I don't know. That's almost a drug reference. We'll not do that. But Isaac Negron, defensive end from the Patterson U. And who is he attacking? Oh, he killed me. Now,
but you still got the pass off and you completed the pass.
Yeah, but not this time. Not that one.
Breaking news. The newest BIC linebacker, Isaac Negron.
Yeah, so Isaac is now a member of BIC, so that's fun. They just keep stacking up. But as a Defensive Player of the Year last year for the Patterson U, look, when we were going over the stats with Cole Gardella at the end of the season, kind of really, leading up to what was going to be this list. Now, obviously, I have firsthand experience. Look at me making. I'm not in. Well, I'm pointing the wrong way. I'm not in the top 50, but I keep getting videos in there somehow. I must have something to do. No, but
so you wouldn't have anything to do with picking those videos, would you, Corey?
Should I just lie like our president? No.
It's our crack staff at A7FL Films.
See, what I did was I threatened to not. You threatened who? I threatened to not do the videos this week, and then caved, and then caved because I was going to do it anyway. And then my stipulation was that I had to be once again in the thing when it was already there. So like when you're negotiating, what you want to do is you want to threaten really heavy, and then just back off when everybody's mad at you, and just have the status quo be what it is, and then take a victory lap for keeping the status quo as if it was a victory. We got a good role model, so we're just going to follow that. But for Isaac, when we were going over the stats with Cole Gardella for Defensive Player of the Year, we were like, because he would remind us weekly in the booth before he got on the field how many sacks he had, and that he was the league leader according to the stats. Now, I think the stats are corrupted in Vegas. There had to be more guys with more than 10 sacks, but Isaac led the crowded Northeast Division in sacks. Now, I think part of that is that when you look at these teams, their defensive lines, especially the good ones, the defensive lines are so deep that there's a rotation. So when Isaac is getting 10 sacks and he's playing a third of the snaps, that's a really high sack percentage. He's really, efficient at sack. Is that a ditty?
Well, it would have been if you said he's efficient with playing with sacks or sack.
Well, when there's a sack involved, he's all in, right?
Okay, that's okay. That's all in is okay when he makes.
That's good. That's an AEW reference. All in.
He's all in. Yeah.
So listen, I didn't want to go too far with Isaac's clips because there's other guys with in my opinion more fun clips. But for everybody that looks at my face and wishes that I got mine, well, just look at that first completion. That's my everyday in the A7FL when I play. Even if I do get a good completion out of it, somebody's in my face near the sack. It's really close to a sack. But pause, ditty, all of that. Isaac Negron, our
Number 19.
I think one way to describe him, he is a disruptor. He likes to disrupt things on the defensive side of the ball to disrupt the offensive flow of the offense. I think that's one way to describe.
Yeah, and he's
Mr. Isaac.
consistent. He's every single year he's going to be, and he's actually had almost a renaissance later in his career. You know what's interesting? We talked about those glass in grass days when Isaac was a rookie. I don't know if you guys would believe this. He was a 185-pound running back.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you saying he grew into a defensive end?
Well, working security. Let's just say working security got him to the point of where he's playing DN now, and he plays. He don't sleep on him. He plays a pretty good O-line. When the U needed guys 2 years ago, when the U needed guys because 76 and et cetera weren't showing up. I'm not going to say they call him Dookie, whatever. Anyway.
Dookie.
Well, listen, it's his daughter calls him that, so but I can't help but like out of context, like really.
I kind of have to wonder why he's nicknamed Dookie.
Well, when you wonder and then you
I
laugh
don't,
about it. And,
I don't want to wonder. No.
well, when you
kind
but
of
what I'm saying is
either.
I try not to be an asshole, can't help it. But when you wonder out loud, like, oh, that's funny, and it's because that's what his daughter calls him.
Ah,
Then I'm the asshole. So
Wait, how old is his daughter?
like little, like,
Oh, okay. If
she's
you would have
like-
said she's a teenager, I'd have been like, oh, she knows something we don't know.
well, I mean, listen, if she's the one in charge of laundry, then maybe it's a real nefarious situation. But getting back to Isaac
Number 19.
Negron, defensive end for the skin marks, defensive end for the Patterson U, and that's not why. That's confirmed, not why his name is that, by the way. But we can laugh about it.
Number 19.
Which brings us, gentlemen,
Number 18.
to a very hypothetically, we'll say controversial tier inside the tier. We're going tier inception, right? Because the next two names that we're going to say, you may think deserve to be as high as possible. But guess what? Regardless of talent, this list specifically is about your impact in this season. So one of the things that would require you to have an impact is to literally be on the field and available. However, we're in the top 20. So if guys were not readily available and they're listed this high, we're talking about absolute ballers. And our
absolutely.
Number 18.
athlete of the 2024 season. Reasons, right?
Mark Bagway. Tampa Bay Nightcrawlers.
Now this is a logo highlight, but why not? Because let's just pull the veil off.
Number 17 is Logo Davis. Tampa Bay Nightcrawlers.
And listen, they're back to back because they're almost synonymous, right, guys? I mean, they each
Correct.
have very specific skill sets, and they affect the game in different ways. And I'd say Bagway is more of the kind of the smooth, makes it look easy, and maybe a little bit of a better quarterback, right? Where Logo is absolute dogs. Logo is makes it look more fantastical, almost like he's not a human being, right? Where Mark
And does
Bagway-
and does it with one hand. And he says that's just what I do. I practice catching with one hand. That's his natural way of catching the ball, folks.
Yeah, but he also, and you saw in this clip, he also can play quarterback better than almost everybody on our quarterback list. So when we did the quarterback list, the reason we put those two guys at athletes is to give our just quarterbacks a chance. And here he is. When you think you have him dead to rights, and by the way, you see that big guy for the Ghosts? Yeah, that guy was a former WWE wrestler. Like he was on TV to wrestle. And you see him chasing down Logo Davis, can't get to him in time. Finds his guy on the sideline. I think these guys deserve to be on the list for sure. Because when they did play in this game against the Ghosts in the Southeast Finals, and they played the next round of the playoffs against the Snow Tribe, there weren't two better athletes that touched those fields that day. And to be clear, in that week they were in Baltimore, there's guys that are high, a bunch of guys actually that are higher on this list that were on that field that day. But nobody looks as good as they do playing the A7FL, the way that they play it, the way that they converted even, a flag hater like myself into like hypothetically maybe being a little bit sympathetic to the style. But that game in the championship in 2023, anytime
we
we've
all
ever
saw that
seen them-
live.
Oh yeah. And anytime we've ever seen them, what's up?
He's talking about the championship game.
Yes, we are
2023 was
in Bullhead
friggin'
City.
amazing.
And that's one of the reasons why I give Coach James so much credit, because not the entire game, but at points of that game, it looked like by far the Nightcrawlers were the better team. Now, I think it would be disingenuous to say team, because it really came down to a list of like 4 or 5 guys that were just the better guys at that moment. But again, just like we saw in the championship this year from the Insomniacs against BIC, looking at times like they were the better team. It doesn't matter what happens in the first, 59 minutes and 43 seconds. If you have 17 seconds left, you could still be the better team. But let's not disrespect Mark Bagway and Logo Davis. If we were doing a just talent list, they probably wouldn't be this low. I think everybody that has ever watched the game of football at any level and saw clips of those guys just really quickly, they would agree. But
I mean, when we were talking about these about where they ranked, and
Yep.
we originally, said the same thing. Look, they could be higher, but you have to adjust for where they were and the games that they missed for this past year and what it meant for their team. Could we be talking about them differently if both of them had made it to the East Coast for those playoff games? Is it possible that would be different?
that was my biggest disappointment of last season, other than not being game myself, probably. But as an announcer, my biggest disappointment was missing that Nightcrawlers U game of strength, right? Listen, there's a lot of great matchups that we did get to see. The championship game definitely did not disappoint at all.
No.
But come on, fans of the A7, we needed at that moment not to see DRC finally, which I could care less. And shout outs to DRC, who doesn't want to take the attention away from his other guys and still plays in the A7 for the love of the game. Shout outs to Dominique Rogers Cromartie. Yes, he did play in that game, and Mark Bagway and Logo did it. But
Actually played quarterback. Played some quarterback in that game.
he was all over the game, and people were mad at me in the chat for giving him praise, because everybody wanted me to shit on the former NFL player, but I didn't want to, because he has nothing to gain from playing in the A7. Still came out here and balled hard. Is that a pause? Sure. But for this list, number 19 and number 18, Mark Bagway, Logo Davis.
In the A7FL top 50.
Actually, that'd be
Not a bad
17. Just to correct.
Oh, excuse me, 18-17.
Yes.
Not a bad showing for guys that played in games that I saw on film. Now I think they played like 2 more than this, but they played 2 games, guys. So if you have an issue, let us know in the comments why they should be higher. And listen, there could be more Nightcrawlers hypothetically in our list. We've already done a couple, but we'll see. I don't know. And maybe there's Insomniacs coming up soon, but that takes care of our
Number 17.
bringing us to the next tier in the tier. And just like Bagway and Logo are almost synonymous, these next 2 guys, and we'll do them in the order that we put them, these next 2 guys almost became synonymous as well. And almost similarly. Now, they do it totally different than those 2 guys we just mentioned, but as teammates, as absolute playmakers, these guys for sure deserve their spots in the top 20. And let's start with
Number 16.
running back, Silk City Animals, Quani Morgan. Now, we're about to, this weekend, watch a potential big game. And I think without costing Derek money, I can't say what the game is called. But one of the players that might be mentioned in that game from time to time is Quani Morgan. And Quani Morgan, to me, when you watch him play, honestly, looking back at this, I don't even know if that is Quani Morgan with those long dreads.
Hey,
Anyway,
all I'm doing is playing what you
No, I
said.
know. But I'm pretty sure that's Quani Morgan, but it might not be. The ghost was who Quani Morgan was, and he kept hiding his face. So, doing our best here. But Quani Morgan, to me, just body style, the way he plays, the way he impacts the game, reminds me a lot of the Eagles running back and former Giants running back Saquon Barkley. And maybe the reason is because the way he's built, like what some of my friends might say, a shit brick house, where he's absolutely
Brick shit house.
enormous. Not shit brick, a brick shit.
Shit house.
Yeah, I'm kind of built more like a shit brick. But
You said it.
regardless- right? No, I'm allowed. I should make fun of myself. I deserve it. But I don't. When you just look the part, I don't think that Quani Morgan as a running back in the A7FL, there's any guy that looks more the part. Now, there's guys that probably look as much the part. And when we talk about the running back position, you've noticed that as we did this list, a lot of the guys in our top 7 running back list have been listed earlier because, just case in point, the impact of an individual running back in this league, it's not as big of an impact anymore. But as we look at Quani Morgan,
I think, you know what, and that's where I'll kind of disagree, because I think that you have certain teams where the running back definitely impacts the game, definitely impacts the teams. We've seen it with a few teams like the Insomniacs. We've seen it live with the Force. We've seen it with BIC. We've seen a couple of other teams that have really shown what they can do and how they're not just one-dimensional when you're talking about throwing the football. They can also run the football very well. And
right.
I disagree, because I think, and I agree with you, that the majority of the teams in the A7, yes, they are passing teams. But you have the few that you really can't stack the ball. I mean, you can't just watch out for the pass and cover guys. You have to be cognizant of them running the football. And when they do, they run it very well.
well,
I would say that I don't totally agree. I agree with you to a certain extent, but I don't totally agree, because I do think you have your exceptions.
Well, and I would agree with your statement, the way you framed it. But kind of the way I'm framing it is that individual running backs, because a lot of teams that are committed to running the ball, they do it with a stable of guys. Like, for instance, we had Willie Mayweather, Willie Easterling in our top. I think he was in the top, the 40 range. He shares a backfield with like 3 or 4 other guys that are close to as talented, if not exactly the same. Look at BIC. I don't think we mentioned one of their running backs, even though maybe and he wears the GOAT mask, but maybe the GOAT at running back position in this league, Courage Mosey, he shares that responsibility with a whole stable of guys. And the running backs by committee, as Dub checks in the chat,
He's not wrong. You do have the teams that are running back by committee, and I kind of question them, not to the fact of are they good? That's not the question mark at all. Question mark is, could you make one of them the bell cow and then have the other sub in? And that's what I'm kind of looking at, because when I take a look at some of the other teams that do run the ball very well, they still have their backups. They still have their running backs by committee, if you will, but they have one bell cow that does the majority of the carrying.
Well, and when you look specifically at the Animals, they had other guys that would carry the ball, but none were even close to as impactful as our
Number 16.
So is this the other one that you have?
This is Quani Morgan, I'm pretty sure. No, this is a tender one. But anyway, hey, that pigeonholes nicely into our
Number 15.
player of the 2024 season, it's Kwani's teammate and quarterback, David Tender of the Silk City Animals. And now this is a play against BIC that shows, his escapability in the pocket. And I think there's a bunch more, listed. A couple of them are going to be.
Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. Nice touch pass.
Yeah, I think the touch pass might be the one to Kwani. But, kind of finishing up with Kwani at 16, going into Tender at 15, we're talking about two athletes in their rookie year that made such an impact that they became almost the team to watch. Now, shout outs to Matt Ryan in the chat, but also, rewatching this game to go over clips, we have to give a traitor a show on Peacock. Check it out. Dan Giesling, who was watching us on the Creator Sports Network and is he won Big Brother. He was in the recent show on Peacock, The Traders, which is a reality kind of game show type of thing. It's fun to watch. Check it out. But
He was one of the traitors.
and I'll stop. But when he was watching the Animals, he kind of became an Animals fan specifically because of the play of David Tender and Kwani Morgan. Jordan Davison is saying he's his favorite Northeast player. Yeah, that echo is murder, Matt. We try our best. We try our best. You're more tech savvy. Not yet, but his he might be a little bit behind us in the. There it is. That's not me, right?
No, I don't hear you echoing at all.
All right. Anyway, so Chris, if you could pull up a couple more David Tender ones, because there's tons of them. If not, then we can just kind of talk. But Kwani Morgan being the running back.
I'm going to pull up some more of the Tender ones.
Yeah, so Kwani Morgan being the running back. There's the echo. Kwani Morgan being that bell cow running back that we're talking about reminds me of Saquon. David Tender, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback like him. He has this really innate ability of avoiding the pressure and delivering under duress, delivering on-target throws to his receivers, whether it's touch pass, whether it's with guys hanging off of him. And his vision down the field, guys, while chaos is happening around him, and not the Sin City chaos, they don't exist anymore. But when there's absolute pandemonium surrounding him in the pocket, whether it's the Patterson U, BIC, the Baltimore Watchmen, we're talking about a guy that no matter what the platform is, that's the same one. No matter what the platform is that he's throwing from, he's able to put the ball in a place where his receivers are going to be able to make a play on the ball. And we watched them in the playoffs against Baltimore Watchmen, in which his team put up 60-plus points. And then they came back and put, I think it was 52 up on BIC in the playoffs again. We talked about De'Aaron Fox as maybe the future of that position for the A7FL. And he has to still put a couple of things together so that, his team can continue to progress, as well as he and his, kind of camaraderie with Jaden Webb. But this play is just insane. There's no reason that David Tender shouldn't be sacked for a loss on this play. By the way, it's 4th and 11 if you look at the bottom of your screen, and he finds Kwani Morgan after that scramble. Not where the play was designed to go. And if you drew in a scribble what he just did, it's a question mark. I've never seen a quarterback run a question mark, go back into the middle of the pocket, out of escaping the pocket, have guys all around him, and still be able to put an on-target throw on 4th down against maybe one of the best, if not the best, defense in the entire country. Trust me, I played against them. They're good. Now, obviously, Insomniacs beat them. But it's either 1 or 1A with both of those teams, right? And
it's crazy the way
68.
His escapability is something that I think that you need in this game, especially if you don't have a strong offensive line. And what he was able to do there is just I don't have any other word for it except it's stupid.
Yeah. Well, It doesn't make sense, right?
There's only been one other guy that I've ever watched in my life that I could sit here and tell you had that kind of escapability, and the only person in our that would understand it that's watching right now would be James, and that was one of the guys that used to play for. Give me a sec, I'll get the name of him, but his real name is Gene. And he played quarterback for one of the flag teams. And I know you hate flag, I know that, but he was a college wide receiver, and he would make guys absolutely look stupid trying to run him down.
Yeah, James.
And that's who David Tender reminds me of. That escapability, that ability to run in the wrong direction. You know he's moving in the wrong direction, and it's still able to throw the ball and get yards. It's just ridiculous. And Gene was probably one of the best that I've ever seen do it, and Tender's right there with him.
Yeah, and it's just his rookie year. So, the conversation about the Animals coming into last season was how do they survive after having a real positive season in which they made, I think, the semifinals of the Northeast with Huff at quarterback, right? And when we talk about Huff, we mentioned it last week, maybe the greatest quarterback in the history of the league when you put all of his career into the perspective that you're viewing that through. Listen, we could spend all day, right? Because Coach James says he's Big Ben, right? Because Big Ben had that scramble ability, kept his eyes downfield, and was tough to bring down.
Yep.
But then he says, but faster, right? So that's the thing. We can make comparison. He does the scramble drill like Fran Tarkenton or Kyler Murray, right? Like running around like a little kid. Whenever I hear Kyler Murray, I can't get out of my head that he looks like a toddler who stole his parents' phone. He's running around. But that's kind of the way that he approaches the pocket. But Kyler Murray, right? Especially with that big ass helmet on.
I think Tender's taller though.
No, he's way taller. And he's actually more looking, instead of to potentially scramble for yards.
Taller than Kyler Murray. Anyway, sorry.
He's way taller than Kyler Murray. Because
No,
Kyler Murray is like
taller than Kyler Murray.
I have players on my 6th grade team that are taller than Kyler Murray. Shout out to Kyler Murray.
Dub, you're muted, just so you know.
But Tender isn't.
I don't know why.
But Tender isn't just Kyler Murray taller, right? And now Cookies and Milk, Cam, Jordan Davidson is saying that reminds him of Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, that off-platform throw, that ability to move in the pocket and throw from any arm angle, we're getting a little bit closer. But to me, still doesn't account for the blinding speed that he then will have when he takes off and he's burning guys. When he looks like, I don't know if anybody will remember this, he almost looks like how Robert Smith for the Vikings, the Ohio State graduate, would be jogging, but would be like all of a sudden he's like, is this guy fast? Like, he has that deceptive speed. But to me, I think the biggest attribute that he has is his vision. That on 4th and 11, or there was a play that came up and they lost a ton of yards against Snow Tribe. So I said, it's 2nd and 45. Guess what? They converted whatever of downs.
Conversion.
That set of downs, excuse me. They converted that set of downs into a first down, and it was 2nd and 45. They had to get to the 5-yard line for the first down. The next play, 2nd and 45, right? He throws that jump ball to Manny Diaz, and Manny Diaz catches a 37-yard gain. David Tender is one of the most clutch performers in our league. And the only thing that I will say, just to kind of maybe give him a little bit of motivation for this year, just so that we're not singing his praises too much. Guys, he did set a record last year that I don't think will ever be broken. He was 0-2 in the playoffs last year. An A7FL record, maybe a football of all time record. Because I don't think any quarterback has ever lost 2 playoff games in a win or go home scenario. So other than that record that he set, I think that David Tender is really set for a potentially really fun 2025.
He's
But-
only but trending up.
Well, we'll see if there's a sophomore slump. But for 2024, he's our
Number 15.
playmaker and player of the A7FL other side of the ball top 50 of 2024, which brings us. Listen, I think the Animals are in a tough spot
Another
too.
conversation for another time.
Yes.
Number 14.
Now we mentioned De'Aaron Fox in the lead up. And what I said is that there's a player on this list that De'Aaron Fox could have these intangibles with his tangibles that he might be the best quarterback in our league. Because when you watch some of the highlights of this next player, you might mistake the unorthodox way in which he looks playing the game as not being as talented. And to give a shout out to my guy Snags Sosa. That boy run a 5.9. Our
Number 14.
player of the 2024 season is Rokeem Chaney, better known as G Buck, quarterback for the Baltimore Watchmen. And just watch this play.
Fuck.
Just stop it. Wait till you see the other angle, because I think I cut it so that it's long enough for both. Now, shout out to Super Saiyan for getting it in there. But just watch what this young man against BIC has to do. He's down, basically. My man is down. He is inches away from that being a sack. Pause. And look what he does. He steps up in the pocket, falling down, gets the ball out there, and lets his man take care of the rest now.
If we had a reverse angle, it
We
would
do.
have not done it justice.
Hold on.
No, we do.
Oh.
We do. Because when I cut it, then the next thing that happened in the game that I was watching is the other angle. Now, this is another good touch pass, but it just kind of shows you what this play shows is his ability to design plays to get guys wide open and confuse the defense. So nobody's thinking that Beefy, the tight end, is the go-to guy. And if you look at Buck's throwing motion, dare I say, borderline disgusting, right? Like, we're talking about worse than Tim Tebow, worse than, and shout outs to my guy, worse than Corey Price. We're not talking about a beautiful throwing motion by any means. I think this is the other angle. Yeah.
No,
This is just another play.
Yep.
And this is a touchdown again to Beefy. By the way, again, these are all plays. All of these plays apparently are against BIC's defense. So maybe I'm trying to say something.
Hold on. I
A
got
tight
one more.
end named Beefy, you don't say.
Listen, there were NFL guys who.
Here's
who
a reverse. Here's a reverse angle.
this one's.
This was the last one.
So look at how close he is. That's a play.
Crazy.
I wish I could make that play and have it be a highlight on my highlight tape. My highlights are of Isaac crushing me and me being able to throw.
Look at this. Look at this. Look how close he is to the ground as he's throwing that ball.
And to have the mindset to know that after he gets through the two defenders, which by the way are good defensive ends in this league. One of them actually was just mentioned early on in this list at number 20. But he steps up in the pocket, is going down, keeps his eyes down the field. And listen, there's nothing beautiful about that pass, but just trusting your player to make the play. And I think, guys, that was also on a 3rd or 4th and goal. So shout outs to Matthews, the Super Saiyan, for making that play happen. But OG Buck, man, listen, he is, if it's not Huff, and I know Scott Hamilton calls good plays, but his plays are really more traditional football plays that they're just executing. And he has a camaraderie with his players. What Buck does for the Watchmen, and before that, the Rare Breed, and before that, other teams. What Buck has always, the Cobras, right? But what Buck has always been able to do is design guys open by putting them in a trips, by setting it up with a specific action, and then later on coming in, later on in the game, using that exact same action for a guy like Tony Totap to pop wide open when he needs it. The type of when we talk about football IQ, there's not a lot of players that have an equal or higher than OG Buck, and it just goes to show on that Beefy touchdown that looked too easy. BIC had no idea that it wasn't a toss to Amari Thomas in the backfield because of the way that the formation was set up and the way that he calls his plays. They had no idea that the guy that they should cover on that play is the tight end who's wearing numbers 00, who catches the ball a lot and had already scored in that game. He's wide open in the end zone. You're telling me that they have that big of a miscommunication on defense? It's not because they don't know what they're doing. It's because OG Buck puts his guys in the best position for them to make plays. And even if the play isn't working out the way he designs it, he has that improvisational ability to make something out of nothing when it's not there. And
Well, I
yet
think he's really good at taking what the defense gives him. But his guys are, it's something that we've kind of worked on too when we were playing, was the fact of when there's a scramble drill and you want to have your wide receivers that are deep come short, the ones that are short go deep, but also mirror the quarterback. And it seems like they are on the same page. When he starts to scramble, his whole team's on the same page with him. And you could see the guys stop and find open areas and come out with him when he was scrambling around. So it's something, it's one of those things. You're either practicing a lot and you understand it and your wide receivers understand what they're doing, or you've just played together so long it's natural. It's one of the two pieces that happens. So
and when you play the quarterback position to make up that's not designed, means that you have to have that ability to improvise on the fly, which is very difficult to do. I know that's one of my bigger weaknesses. Now, when I try to improvise, it's usually my lack of athleticism that keeps me from doing so. But for you to be able to make the defense miss in the pocket,
getting old.
Yeah, once upon a time I was a little bit better at it. But to make the defense miss in the pocket and keep your eyes downfield to find that wide receiver that's not in the place where he was designed to be, so you have to scan the field. That's an elite ability that OG Buck has. And
without a shadow of a doubt. And the thing about it is I love his improv, and I love the fact that he understands the game well enough to buy his receivers more time by making the scramble happen. And the thing about it is you can scramble. There's two ways that I look at it. You can scramble to run the ball, or you can scramble to wait for guys to buy you more time for your guys to get open. And I've seen him do both. I've seen him scramble to get guys open, and I've him scramble for to run the ball. So it is one of those situations where he is a dual threat, and you just got to be aware of that and do what you can on defense to make those adjustments.
And the last thing I'll say is when we talk about Buck, because he splits time, and this will go in, this will be kind of mentioned in why we placed him where he is versus maybe the next guy on our list. I don't know, maybe the guy after that. You'll see, because you'll stay tuned. He splits time with John Gauze, known as Ace Boogie for the Watchmen. Now, this year, you didn't see John Gauze on our top 50 list, and you did see Buck because, what's up, Miz? He absolutely, in Rakeem Chaney, OG Buck, had the lion's share of the snaps this year over Ace Boogie. And when you compare the two teammates, now they're teammates. They used to be just rival quarterbacks. But when you compare the two teammates, the way that Buck does it, he's more of a game manager, if you wanted to use like a generic term for quarterback. And what he's doing is he's taking the best play the defense giving him. So like you said, Chris, when he scrambles, he's not saying in his head, oh, I got to throw this, or oh, I got to run. He's basing the decision that he makes on what he sees from the defense and what is available to him. So when we saw some of the highlights of Amari Thomas catching the ball in the backfield, that's a safety valve that when Buck breaks free from the defense and gets an open guy downfield, he's able to, even though it sometimes looks ugly, he's able to find his receiver downfield even after the play has broken down. So we go tender, we go OG Buck at
Number 14.
which brings us to
Number 13.
in our top 50. Guys, we're going back to back quarterbacks in this part of the list. And if you're wondering who's the number 13 guy,
Well, let's take a look.
let's see him in action.
It's Scott Hamilton, quarterback, Vegas Insomniacs.
Big men should not throw like that.
Listen, I don't care to ever discuss what Scott Hamilton looks like other than he's an absolute pocket passer.
Yes.
Now, there have been guys, and everybody wants to go straight to Jared Lorenzen. Let's not. I don't care. Honestly, the only time Scott Hamilton's size comes into play when you're playing against him is when he does make that decision to tuck it and run, because guess what? Now he's big as shit and try to take him down. But when he's in the pocket, he might as well be 215 and 6'5", because he has the footwork, he has the presence, and he has what I think is an underestimated gift at that position is timing.
Correct.
And you can't see it any better than on this play.
That is an out route. He's wide open, so I don't know what the Force are doing on that fucking play. I showed a bunch of Force highlights against the Insomniacs. Now it's the Force's turn to get completely, if this was high school film, Coach Mack would be like, "Where the hell is the cornerback?" But when you throw it on time,
well, I mean, we could go back to this play.
Yeah,
go back to this play. This is throwing the ball on time on an out route that is a great play.
You could get away with a lot, because why is he that wide open right there? Why is there almost no Force player in frame? Look at the way that he turns to run. And I don't know which wide receiver it is. It's likely Munchie.
It's Munch.
But when the corner turns to run to cover the deep route, play it one more time. His back is to the route, and the ball is thrown exactly when he makes that cut. And look, if it was their patented stop route and not the out, Munch might score on that play. But when it is the
space, look at the space that the defender's giving him.
But it's not even just the space, because that's relatively normal. When the corner turns his back to the receiver and absolutely loses him, yeah, that's a hell of a route by Munchie. But that's also a great play from the quarterback to deliver the ball on time, because if Scott waits to throw that ball for whatever reason, there's a guy in his face or he wants to just make sure Munch is open, it gives the corner the ability to get back in frame at least. Because he's throwing it at the break, at the perfect time, which is probably the Insomniacs passing game's bread and butter, is throwing it to Munch on those timing routes where he's getting wide open because he's just a better route runner. I'm just better. We're just better.
Well,
right?
The other side of that, though, too, is when you have there's two trains of thought there for me. When I watch Scott make this throw, I've seen quarterbacks throw that ball out of bounds so many times because they're trying to throw the ball and lead the receiver just a little bit because of him being on his break. He's throwing it on his break, which
as he
turns, receiver usually out of bounds.
Right,
so
as he turns, not before.
Exactly. And to make that throw is I've watched it, I've caught it, I've seen it so many times. And to watch these guys do that and make it look so easy, my thing is very simple. If you're a quarterback and you're learning the game, get with the wide receiver and throw those until you are hitting him on his break right at the sideline. It's a very difficult pass to throw.
Yeah. And a lot of quarterbacks with accuracy can hit the, like it's like the fucking excuse my language, the shore game. Now, you guys don't have boardwalks out there, do you?
No.
Not a lot of bodies of water to have a boardwalk by. But in New Jersey, right, you have the boardwalks. They have all those like carnival games up and down the boardwalk. One of them is the quarterback throw. And a lot of quarterbacks can hit the target when it's a resting target and they're accurate and they focus, and I can hit what I'm looking at. Being accurate on an out route, a stop route, a hook, or an in, those timing routes, it's not just knowing that you can hit where you want to throw it, but having the anticipation and understanding where your receiver is going to be in the future, that it's a superpower. Scott Hamilton can predict the future and throw to where Munchie is at the sideline at the exact moment that he gets there. This is just one of the many highlights that we could have pulled from of Scott Hamilton. But Scott Hamilton is only down this far on the list, guys, and people in the chat because, disagree with us. Because as we talked about with Huff last week, Scott Hamilton did miss a decent amount of time, and we're glad that he recovered and was totally healthy. He also, in the championship game, got injured, and a performance that could have been, as just spectacular as the second half of the 2023 championship game against the Nightcrawlers, in which he was probably the difference, although it's either him or RTC or Munchie. It's obviously the Insomniacs are a collective unit of a lot of guys making a lot of great plays. The passes in the 2023 championship game in the second half. What's up? Jeremiah Reeves. Shout out to Jeremiah. You bringing the gold back, my guy? March 16th. Get those guys registered. I need to see Mason with his 3 yards per catch. Shout out to Mason. He's a good player. I hate on him, but I just, I hate on guys because I want them to keep playing and keep working hard and getting better. But Scott is at 13, guys, because as we discussed, missing a decent amount of time, and maybe it, another one of those maybe disappointments on last year. Didn't get to see the Nightcrawlers in the playoffs against the U. Wish I could have seen a Scott Hamilton healthy, 100% healthy against that BIC defense. But guess what? Didn't fucking matter. He did what needed to be done for his team, even though it kind of like, resulted in him being a blocker at times. He won a back-to-back championship. He's 100%, by the way, in years played and championships won. So regardless of where we rank him,
And not to mention,
I'm jealous.
And not to mention his ability to be a coach on the field, considering that a lot of these players are coaches in their own right. So you also have to add in the huddle. Because, even though Danye made the Asgardian look like a genius and a Nostradamus with his prediction, but, during that whole process, Scotty was with the offensive line talking about, okay, if Danye can at least get to the 50, we got 3 plays to where we're going to score. It was not, if they had the confidence that they were going to do it. And then Danye said, hold my beer, and said, you want to do it. So
Yes, he did.
Either that or grab me a beer. I'll be right back.
And real quick question: Have we seen Danye Lance on this list? Stay tuned. No, we have not yet seen him though, right?
Nope. We have not yet seen him. Is he on the list? Is the other question.
He did miss some time too, and we've been. This is a nail biter. Keep people on their seats. He did miss a decent amount of time, so we'll see. You guys know we can't do that to you, but
Yeah, we can. You don't know.
Maybe we will. Number 13. If Scott Hamilton plays a full season, he's probably higher on this list. If we do this thing last year in 2023, probably higher on this list.
Oh, he's top 10 if we did this last year.
Oh yeah,
No doubt in my mind.
Statistically, he was insane.
Yeah, top 10, and I would go as far as say top 5.
Probably, right? Especially because last year I think he was more important to his team than some of the guys that might not be above him on this list.
Well, you can't. When you say that, I don't want to lose the fact that he's a very important player to this team. So what I would say is, if you have to give me the top 10 Insomniacs that are very important to this team, he's definitely one of them, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's crazy. It's crazy that there are 10 guys that could be there. That's just kind of.
You know what? I got to go back and start counting the Insomniacs because I think there's more than 10 on this list.
Rightfully so, right? There's a lot of BIC guys.
Are you talking about just right now or just in general?
Nah, we'll do it. We'll recap it after we do all of them because then who knows how many more Insomniacs we have on the list? There might be 1, there might be 0, there might be 10. We got 10 guys next week. Maybe they're all Insomniacs. I don't know. But another team, the Insomniacs and the team that faced in the championship, they have a lot of guys on this list, which brings us to our number 12 performer in the 2024 season in our other side of the ball, top 50. Gentlemen.
You ready?
H3 Frazier, cornerback, BIC.
Oh, look.
Oh, and poor David Tender. We just gave him all that praise, and then with a chance to potentially get back in the position to win the game. I liked my call on this. I said, "There goes Frazier" instead of "Down goes Frazier." I was riffing and stealing.
No, but just the way he jumps the route and steps in front of the receiver and then just says, "Give me the rock."
Now,
just
there's a ton of highlights
Great
out there
learners.
of H3, but he's another one of those guys that when he was in coverage, this is a rookie, by the way. When he was in coverage for BIC, he was not featured in some of their games because people wouldn't even test him. That's why Sire Hancock, opposite him, had such a great game against teams like the Animals the first time, and the Watchmen been here. But there's another thing that H3 can do.
How do you do?
Interception, go quick screen. Maybe we change the play at the line after that situation.
Nope. No.
Maybe
for
I'm
you.
just saying. Maybe I'm just saying. Okay, that ain't gonna happen again.
Well, if I'm Mike, he gonna make it there, which was the wide receiver. Which, if I was him, I would be able to run probably about a 4.5. So that would be interesting. But if I'm Mike, he gonna make it. I'm going back to the huddle and telling OG Buck, it's like, that play is not going to work on him. And there is one other play of him making a play in that game, in the run game on a 4th down. I don't know if you're going to be able, because that was
You did not send that to me.
it might be, it's one of the first ones. It's even before the first link maybe. But H3 Frazier is one of those cornerbacks. Now, when we did all of the cornerbacks on our list, we talked about a lot of guys that have a lot of abilities. And when we get to the top of the list, it's a lot of guys that are able to cover, tackle, and convert a 50-50 ball into an interception. H3 checks all of those off the list. But the other thing that H3 does that some of our other guys did and do, but he does it in his own way, he has a swagger about him that when he's across the field from any wide receiver, now he was against a couple of really good wide receivers in the championship game, but we didn't see him getting head topped. So I'm pretty sure he did a decent job because, like I said, about other corners, when you don't see him on screen, that means he's probably doing a pretty good job covering his guy because the quarterback's not willing to test him. But he has that swagger that takes his ability to the next level because sometimes he's getting in the head of the wide receiver. Now, personally, as a guy who went against him, my wide receivers, as they were getting shit talked by H3, they started doing the thing as a wide receiver with a quarterback that doesn't have a lot of time in the pocket can't do. Because those guys that I was playing with had a lot of confidence in their own ability. And they thought that even though H3 was talking hella shit to them, that they could get by him, right? They had the confidence themselves. But guess what they were more focused on? Instead of running the route to get open in the time that it took for me to find them, they ran the 2nd and 3rd and 4th extra move to try to make him look stupid. And I had to throw the ball way before they were ready because of the pressure. That's why he got me for an interception. So when you have that ability to get in your opponent's head as well as cover him like white on rice and make the interception and make the tackle when it's a run play, and then you get into the head of the receiver against you and he's not even running the route that was called in the huddle, you're a next level type of performer. And in a league, which I will say, one of the hardest positions to play in the A7FL because there's only 7 guys and very few times are you ever playing zone, which is kind of forgiving, or have safety help over the top. One of the most difficult positions physically to play, athletically to play in the A7 is corner. Guys get burnt all the time. Really good guys get burnt all the time.
You're playing man up. So, I mean,
you're playing man, no help. You're on an island.
You're on the island. And if you can't survive on that island, well, you're going to get burned. And thing about it is it comes up to the thing that comes to mind the most when we're talking about guys that play corner in the A7, short memories. Gotta have a short memory.
Got to.
Because if it happens, you got burnt this one time, okay, come back and make a play on the next one. So
It's just like baseball. Give up the home run.
Now I just watched to get all those highlights. I watched the Animals game. I'm sure there were some times where the Animals wide receivers got the better of him, or David Tender's ability to make plays, even with everything the defense is doing correct against him.
scrambling
Not
around will
working.
always make it hard for a cornerback to cover because they can't cover for all that time when they're playing man.
David Tender, I think, put up 68 total points against BIC that game.
Yes, he did.
Crazy. Now, guess what? When it was 62-72 with 2 minutes left, and there was still a chance. H3 did not get burnt. He pretty much clinched the game with that interception, and in very short order, BIC scored their 80th point.
Got 1 minute.
Hold on one second.
So, folks, that was number 12 on our list.
Number 12.
And when Mr. Hammond decides, or I shouldn't say decides because he's got family, but just
Yeah,
like
he
most
does.
of us, but now it's time to move on to number 11.
Yes, H3 Frazier, number 12, and which brings us to our final athlete of the day. And let's end on a big note, guys. Number 11.
Is big Josiah Sow from Sick With It.
I hope you guys found the one where he's cosplaying as a running back, because although I don't think that that's his ability, that is fun. Oh, here he is cosplaying as a tight end.
Did you see the catch?
Oh, the catch is amazing. And listen, I'm not denigrating his ability to play the skill positions. And I don't know if he's wearing a dress or whatever that look is. Maybe it's I know it is. These idiot kids wear that. They
But
think it
just
looks
wait till
cool.
you see the other clip.
Well, let's get into the other clip.
Poor Ramsey brother. But let's talk about Sal, because his highlights are him playing these skill positions. And this is him playing tight end. Gets out there pretty quick, makes a one-handed catch, and converts it into a
I think
touchdown.
what you got to pay attention to is not only the catch, but having a man draped on him making the catch.
Yes.
Yeah. And converting it for 6. When you got Darren Palmer, you see him in the screen right there. When you have Darren Palmer on the field, and you got Matt Ryan watching at home screaming thick boy season, even though you guys have enough of the weirdness with Scott McCorkle in the booth. You don't have to go thick boy season all the time.
I
And
just
maybe-
say big man with football.
Yeah, big man with football. Yeah, that's what Dub says. But if you got Matt Ryan at home screaming thick boy season in that low growl, you know you're doing something right. And Sal is one of those guys that I think that although these are fun plays, the impact that he has as a defensive lineman and offensive lineman, kind of controlling the line of scrimmage for the Sick With It, is why he is our number 11 player of the 2024 season. Because yes, it's fun to see him truck a Ramsey. And I don't know which one of the 11 brothers it was.
It was.
Let-
Keith. It
It
was
was
Keith.
Keith.
Is it gonna? Are we? Am I false advertising? Am I?
No, it was a Ramsey. No, it was a Ramsey.
But here's the key to that. He might have trucked him, but he held on and got the tackle.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't a touchdown. So I don't even
And-
know if it was a first down. It wasn't even that
And
long of a
he
game.
got
But
back, and he got back up, and Josiah shook his hand, and they both went back in the huddle.
Yes. Because he was chuckling the whole time when he knocked him on his ass. Let me tell you.
do you have that clip, or am I lying?
No, I don't have that clip. We'll have to
No.
look for it. We'll
All
see.
All right, listen. Everybody's seen it. Everybody's seen
Yes.
that man
Yes.
100 miles an hour. Maybe a little bit less than 100 miles an hour, but fast.
For his size, the man's got what I would consider sweet feet because of his abilities and the way he can, for such a big guy. And I don't know how much. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know how much he weighs, what his stats are, or anything.
Let's say 6'1", 320, just because
But,
sounds.
I mean,
sounds right.
to see the way he can move is just like you're almost scared because it's like, okay, you're that fast. Can you stop on a dime? Chances are no. And you're bringing all that weight with you. Yeah, I would have had to make a business decision if I was that Ramsey. I probably would have gotten out of the way.
Yeah, I think the physics term is called inertia. And when a body is in motion, it tends to stay in motion. And the amount of force multiplied by the mass is I think the equation times velocity, right? Because if he's moving,
He ain't stopping.
and there's a lot of mass there.
But Chris, you said it but Chris, you
it's
said it
physics.
best.
What'd you
best,
say?
Chris? No, I'm saying you said it best, because what makes a lineman very good, what makes an alignment elite, doesn't matter if you're defense or offense, what makes them good is the footwork. If you have great footwork and you apply that, that's what makes you stand out amongst from others. And Big Josiah definitely does that. And of course, the man went to Vanderbilt, played in the SEC, so he had to have some good footwork to go play one of the top conferences in the nation.
Yeah, he's also probably a relative well, especially for the A7. No disrespect to our guys, but copious amounts. He's probably a relative genius too if he went to Vanderbilt. Graduating from that school is no easy feat, and staying with feet.
What's surprising to me is how soft spoken he is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you could speak softly if you're carrying a big stick, and again, that sounds like a pause too, but it's the Teddy Roosevelt quote.
That's right, close to being a ditty.
That's really close to being a ditty.
But we had him on our show, but he was very, very articulate with the way he spoke.
Like I said, going to Vanderbilt, no easy feat, and sticking with the feet. To be like misunderstand the amount of athleticism it takes to be a good lineman, right? A lineman is a lineman sometimes, and guys who have played football at every level know the guy that I'm talking about, where you're just big as shit, so you literally can't play any other position. You show up to practice every day, you try your hardest, and if you eventually throw your weight around, you're relatively effective. But to be a great lineman on both sides of the ball, the ability to move laterally, to move, back and forward, vertically and
horizontal.
That would be vertically, yeah, because the horizontal movement side to side. So that's lateral. But anyway, his abilities athletically are why he can go from dominating in the trenches to making plays as a playmaker. And I mentioned him before. He's obviously a little bit past his prime. He does remind me a great deal of a Maryland standout in our league, just known by one name, Bone. And if you look at some of the town beef highlights of Bone playing for the Baltimore Cobras, where he was playing, at 310, was playing wide receiver, catching fades on people. The athleticism that it takes to move a body of that size, just the pure strength it takes to move a body of that size with as much quickness and acceleration, deceleration as both Bone, but now contemporary Sal does. You just have to be impressed watching him play football, and we're all, maybe not the quarterbacks in the Vegas division as much, but as a quarterback safely on the East Coast, I am very happy to have a player like Sal in our league playing the way he does. Matt Ryan's screaming somewhere about Thick Boy season, and he rounds out our 20 through 11 by being our number 11 player of our top 50 in the 2024 season, according to Other Side of the Ball. So, guys,
next week,
quick recap. Number 20, Olajuwon Bell, BIC, defensive end. Number 19, Isaac Negron, or Nacron, as Dub would say, defensive end and defensive player of the year, Patterson University. Or whatever, right? There is a William Patterson University, but we can't say that. Number 18, Mark Bagway, everything, Nightcrawlers. Number 17, Logo Davis, also everything, Tampa Bay Nightcrawlers. Number 16, Kwani Morgan, running back returner for the Silk City Animals. Number 15, quarterback, Silk City Animals, David Tender. And then we went on a nice little quarterback run. Number 14, Rokeem Chaney, OG Buck, quarterback, Baltimore Watchman. Number 13, Scott Hamilton, quarterback, two-time champion, Las Vegas Insomniacs. number 12.
The real.
I can't even go and narc on this man with his government. H3 Frazier, that's just what we know him as, and I'm not sure what the hell his name is, but we'll just go with that. Number 12. And number 11, what's his first name?
Josiah Sal.
Josiah.
Sick with
Josiah
it.
Sal. See, when you say his name, I'll get it right, but I screw that Hawaiian-ass name up all the time. Siao, Sal, but he is our number 11. And guys, we've made it through 40 guys on our list, which brings us
10 remain.
to 1 week remaining. And guys, if we haven't mentioned a guy that you think should be on his list, he either is next week or completely missed the list. So, God, is Corey Hammond going to really do it? Is he going to do that to you guys? Maybe.
Maybe.
He'll try.
We're not going to
Nah.
say. Can't say
What,
it. Give
what
it
I
away.
will say is I did try to make sure that this list with your guys, obviously with your guys' input as well throughout, this whole journey, because we did the each of the positions top 7, and now we're all the way almost through the top 50, getting pretty close to real game time, gentlemen. We're about what, a week, a month and 2-3 weeks away.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
So-
month and 2 weeks away. Yeah.
Today's the 5th, so because it's February is a shortened month, so
Correct.
Yeah.
we're even closer. So it's not even 30 days. So we're talking 40 days away.
Yeah,
Tomorrow's the 6th.
Season 11 of the
Yeah, see-
A7FL.
season opens March 16th. So get your merch for the 16th at a7fl.com/merch.
And
I might have
maybe
just
we'll-
made that up.
And
Like I
maybe
said, we
we'll
lie.
know maybe we'll know where Corey Hammond will suit up for March 16th. That remains to be seen. But what we
As
know
of-
is
As of February 5th, I am still an active player.
he's a free agent.
39 days away, according to Jordan Davidson. He was counting down.
I was just
So-
going to say 39, and I said 40 earlier without looking, and now 39 is correct.
Hey, listen, that was what we call elite rounding. But guys, that means that next week we go over the best 10 players in our league
The best of the
according to their performances last season. I'm excited to reveal that. I hope our fans are excited to witness us revealing it. But also because we got the 1K subscribers, fill up the comments. I want to see, because I'm going to check back. I want to see what.
Better yet.
Go ahead.
Better yet. I would like to see Cam, JB, Jeremiah, everybody who said something in the comment section. Give us
Your top 10.
number 1 pick.
Ooh.
Who do you think is going to wind up being number 1 on our list?
He's
Put it in the
set
chat.
poll.
Let's see who is right, who's close, and who has a name that is in the top 10.
Or
And listen,
who has
piggyback
more
on top of that. I want to see number 1s. But if you want, in separate comments each, that's how the algorithm works. Do your top 10. And we'll see who's right, who's wrong, and who knows this league the best. The top
Cam,
10
you
is
can do
fun,
your top
gentlemen.
10. You could do your top 10 if you want.
And just to kind of finish this thought, right? There were guys that were in this original tier, 20 to 11, and there were guys in this tier that were in the top 10. When we were discussing this week's show, there was definitely some shuffling. There was some shufflation going on. So it's fluid, and it's a working target list. We're going to start working on that probably as soon as we're off the air right now. Jonathan Clark has already put his number 1, who isn't a guy that was mentioned yet. So we'll see if he's even listed at all. He did share time with 2 other big-time backs, and I went on my rant about sharing time. He's the starter, though. I wasn't talking about him. So, gentlemen,
Never know.
I'm excited for
Yep.
next week. Let's get to work on it. We'll try to get even more clips and better clips of these players. I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities to choose from. They're definitely ballers. Parting shots, either of you?
Top
You know,
10.
I had something I wanted to say, but I'm gonna hold off on saying it because if I say it the way I want to, it's gonna give away a couple of the guys. So I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna keep it to myself. I'll say it next week after we give our top 10.
Will your guy make the list? Only one way to find out. Come
And
back
Cam,
watch
that's
us
only
next
6.
week. Nonetheless,
Cam's got. I like Cam's list so far. He's not too far off from being pretty
Being
damn
what?
good. Pretty damn good analyst in this league. I love Jordan's takes at times. I
Yeah,
might
that's
disagree
good
with
take. He's got his moments. I'll give him that. And Dave Valley #1. Hey, you know what? You'll have to tune in next week and find out.
so with that said, come back and join us next week. Episode 122, the top 10 of the top 50 of 2024 in the American Sevens Football League. For Corey, for Chris, I'm Double A saying thank you for watching.
There's a thumbnail.
Enjoy that other game that's coming up on Sunday, and then officially we can count down to some real football coming to you on March 16th, 2025. In the meantime, we'll see you on the other side of the ball. Good night.
Awesome.